This video is going to show you how to tie the formal form of an o-taiko, the so-called Nijudaiko. And this video is especially going to show you how a Nijudaiko is constructed. In case you're here for the first time, my name is Matsunaga and I'm a fully trained and certified kimono teacher and stylist. Oh, where shall we start? Seriously, there are so many things I want to talk about in this video. First of all, let's make sure what actually a Nijudaiko is and when do we wear this and what obi you're using for this. A Nijudaiko is the formal form of a normal o-taiko. An o-taiko is tied with a casual obi, a so-called Nagoya obi, and I do have already a tutorial on my channel of how to tie a casual o-taiko. A Nijudaiko is one for formal events. A lot of people ask me what actually a formal event would be, and I find that really hard to explain too. The easiest event is a wedding, of course, and for example, events where you have to speak on stage, when you are on TV, something that is really special to you. This is where you would actually wear a formal kimono. And with a formal kimono, you will have to tie a formal obi-musubi, which is, for example, a Nijudaiko. Nijudaiko is the most basic and the most common formal obi-musubi that works with almost all formal kimono. With other obi-musubi, you have to be a tiny bit careful. You can see there are not only formalities for kimono and obi, there are also formalities for obi-musubi, and it's really easy to be overdressed or underdressed, but with a Nijudaiko, you are on the safe side. So what is a formal obi? A formal obi is a so-called Fukuro Obi. A Fukuro Obi is an obi that is at least 4 meters long, but I actually recommend longer. Nowadays, most Fukuro Obi are 4 meters, 20 centimeters or more. And I think this is actually a length you really need to tie a Nijudaiko comfortably without any troubles. Another indicator for a formal obi is there gold or silver on it? When you have an obi with gold and silver all over it, it's most of the time a formal obi. Another indicator for a Fukuro Obi is having a patterned front side and actually aligning on the back. So this type of obi is made of 2 different fabrics. And without further ado, I would love to start with the tying process. In this video, I'm going to show you 2 ways how to tie a Nijudaiko. First, it's going to be on the front, and second is going to be on the back. Why am I going to show you those 2 ways? The reason is that a Nijudaiko has many layers, and it is really confusing where is what and what is going to be what. And actually tying an obi on the front is going to show you how the obi-musubi is actually constructed really well. So for those of you who have always struggled with tying it on the back and you don't know where should what go, I do recommend to give maemusubi a try and then later move on to Ushiro musubi. You start with 2 clips on the front of your obita. Take the obi and measure 1 arm's length for the te and fix this onto the right clip, having the open side facing upwards. Slide over the obita to remove the air under the obi and clip the rest of the obi, the tare, under the left clip. Hold the te against your obita so you can reclip the right clip onto the center. And then you fold up the te along the clip and put it on your right shoulder. Wrap the obi around your waist. Hold the te in place and put some tension onto the fabric with your right hand. Keep the obi in the same tension when wrapping it a second time. Hold the tare on the front with your right hand and let the left clip rest on your te. Hold the end of the te in place and pull with your right hand to tighten. Make sure that the obi on the back is smooth and without wrinkles, and that the two layers align on the bottom. When your tail falls off your shoulder now and then, don't panic and put it back on your shoulder. Clip the left clip back to your left side. Bring the tare to your left and take off the clip from the center. Clip this onto the bottom edge of the obi in the center of your body. Take the tail off your right shoulder and pull it to your left. Fold the tare along the clip upwards and put it on your right shoulder. Fold one corner of the tail in and bring the tail to the front, from left to right, and clip this in place using the left clip. Take the tare off your shoulder and open it to full width. Then start to fold the tare up. You want to fold this up twice, so the end of the obi is hanging on your about knee height. Hold this in place with a tie. Reach out to the end of the obi, or also called taresaki, and fold one corner up. Put the obimakura on this line and hold it in place. Then you open up the tie and let the obi fall over it. Then you grab the obimakura on the inside with the obi and decide where to place the obimakura. Grab now all 3 layers of the obi and the obimakura. Tap the fabric behind the obimakura down and place then the obimakura on your chest. Bring the ties to the back and tie them neatly in place. Cover the obimakura with your obiage and tie together the ends on the back. And this is the basic construction of a Nijudaiko. You have this flap on the top that consists of 2 layers. And when you fold them up, you have a single bottom layer tucked under the obimakura. This bottom layer will form the tail called taresaki that will peek out under your o-taiko. To flatten this wonkiness out, you fold up the taresaki and take the clip from the center off. I use this to hold the layers on top so they won't fall down. Pull up the fabric that you have tucked behind the obimakura when tapping it down before placing it against your chest, and then you pull down the te so it will align with the bottom edge of the obi, and pull out the corner you have folded in earlier. Fold the corners of the tucked fabric down to create a seat for the obimakura to sit on. Take off the clip and let the taresaki fall down. Hold the obimakura in place and let the 2 top layers fall down too. Take a tie and slide down the o-taiko part. Place the tie 30 to 31 cm from the top and fold the rest of the flap along the tie up. And decide the size of your o-taiko. As you're aiming for a square shape, it should be 30 to 31 cm long since the obi is 30 to 31 cm wide. And tie the tie on your back. Take off the clip and fold the te to your front. Pass the te through the o-taiko, using the tie as a guide to find the right space to put the te in. Pass the obijime on top of the te through the o-taiko. Hold onto all the layers with the obijime and lift the o-taiko. Pass the obijime ends to the back and tie them temporarily together. I always make a simple knot, switch the ends and tuck them under the obijime around the waist. Stay on the back and take off the last tie. I usually store it with the clips in my left sleeve. Then you can start to reshape the o-taiko. There are 3 layers that are important for this. The top flap that formed the o-taiko. You hopefully remember that there was this one flap consisting of 2 layers that we have folded up along the tie to form the o-taiko. And there is the taresaki on the bottom. If you might recall, this is the lowest layer that was tucked under the obimakura. When you pull this layer up, you can shorten the taresaki peeking out of your o-taiko. I'm overdoing it here a tiny bit so you can clearly see what is moving when I pull on this. And when you pull on the 2 layers of the o-taiko, you can see that the bottom corner of the o-taiko is moving. Hopefully, my sleeve was kinda in the way. On the right side, these layers are harder to access because the te is folded over them, but you will be able to find the same layers. When I do maemusubi, I usually pull up the o-taiko corner a little bit to create a crisp bottom fold of the o-taiko. Then I put my right sleeve on my right arm, put my thumbs between obi layers and obi-ita to separate them on my left side. And then I turn the obi from left to right to my back. When all your knots are in the center on the front, the o-taiko should be in the center of your back too. Open up the obiage and let it hang. Then you take the obimakura ties under your armpits and slide to the front while pulling the obimakura against your back and retie it on the front. Put the ties deeply behind your obi-ita. Do the same with your obijime. Start on the back, slide to the front and tie it. Make sure both sides have the same length. Put left over right, pull the left side through, tighten the knot. Lift it from your obi-ita to remove wrinkles on both sides. Tighten it again. Fold the left side straight up, fold the right side back and put it behind the left side. Pull the left side through the loop and tighten. If you want more detailed instructions of how to tie a obijime, check out my video linked down below or in the top right corner. Same goes for the obiage. Those 2 are quite hard to tie, but they are essentials. So these are 2 things you will have to practice how to tie on their own. But once you have mastered it, you will be fine for any new obi arrangement. Lastly is straightening out and you are done. And I know that a lot of you are thinking that tying an obi on the front, maemusubi, is less traditional than tying it on the back. And that is wrong. Tying an obi on the front was actually more common in history. Most obi musubi in history were tied on the front and then turned to the back. Oh wait, you didn't even have to turn it to the back because it was up to you if you wanted to wear the obi tied on the front or on the back. And in the end of the Edo period, it became common to wear the obi on the back. And that has lasted until today. So maemusubi is not less traditional than Ushiro musubi. That does not mean that tying an obi on the back wasn't common. Of course, obis were also tied on the back in history, so both was around, and nothing is more traditional or less traditional. And when we look at a Nijudaiko itself, Nijudaiko is a modern obi musubi that is not historical, so either way, both is more or less traditional. Doing both for years, I find both of them equally uncomfortable to tie, and I find both of them equally annoying. The only thing I can say about Ushiro musubi is when you are used to it, it is way faster. And you also mess up less your kimono because you don't have to turn the obi. Maemusubi is way easier for beginners and you have a higher success rate because you can actually see what's going on. So it's up to you which one you actually like more or less. So let's jump into Ushiro musubi, which is actually my specialty. Start with putting a clip on your collar. Then you take the te, having the end facing to your left and the open side facing towards you. Pass the obi to the back with your right hand. The left hand takes over and puts the te on your left shoulder. The right hand lets go on the back and makes sure that the te is long enough to have one corner peeking into your obiita on the front. Clip this onto your collar. Pass the obi to the front and hold it with your left hand. The right hand takes some length on the back and places it onto the center of your back and holds it down. The left hand starts to wrap the obi around your waist. When you have reached the right hand, this hand takes over the bottom of the obi and brings it to the front. Left hand holds the end of the te in place and right hand pulls to put some tension onto the fabric. Before you wrap the obi a second time, you open up the obi a little bit so the second wrap becomes wider than the first wrap. This is called habatashi and is done to show more of the gorgeous obi on the front. Wrap the obi a second time and make sure that the bottom edges of both wraps align. After the second wrap, take the te out of the clip. Left hand holds the end of the te again and pull with your right hand to tighten the obi. Turn your right hand and lift the obi on your right shoulder. Let the te fall off your left shoulder. Pull with both hands to tighten and bring the te from left to right to the front where you clip this in place. And because this was way too fast, here is the same step slower. Take the te out of the clip. Hold the end of the te with your left hand and pull with your right hand to tighten. Turn your right hand so the palm of your hand is facing down and lift the obi on your right shoulder while keeping the right side of the obi pulled. Let the te fall off your left shoulder. Pull with both hands to tighten the obi. And pass the te to the front from left to right and clip it onto the obi around your waist. Let the tare fall off your right shoulder and open it up to full width, which should form this triangle. Hold this in place with a tie you tie on the front. Take another tie and search for the end of your obi, or also called taresaki. When you've found the taresaki, let it hang over the tie and measure from it a good index finger length. This is going to be the length of your taresaki, the tail peeking out of the o-taiko. Position the tie onto the bottom edge of the obi around your waist. Bring the tie ends to the front and tie them tightly in place. No mercy for the ohashuri. Hold the obimakura in front of you, pat it side facing towards yourself, and put it to the side. Place the obimakura onto the bottom of your bum. Make sure that the top two layers are aligned neatly. Let the obimakura flip upwards, step one step forward with your left foot, bend backwards, and set the obimakura on top of the triangle we have created earlier. Bring the ties to the front and tie them tightly together. Store them behind your obiita. Pass the obiage to the back and cover up the obimakura. And tie temporarily on the front. Take off the tie that is tied in the center. Keep it in your hand and place it onto the tie that is still around your waist. Transfer this hide onto the flap of your obi. Make sure both layers of this flap are aligned neatly here as well. Lock the tie between thumb and middle finger. Roll the tare around your thumb with your index finger. Hold onto this fold and fold the obi neatly up with your flat right hand. Take then the tie ends and tie them together tightly on the front. Again, no mercy for the ohashuri. Take the clip off and fold the te back. Pass it through the o-taiko, and again, you can use the tie as a guide to enter the correct space for the te. Pass the obijime through the o-taiko and tie it on the front. When tying the obiage, make first enough space behind the obiita. Then make sure that the obiage is not twisted. Fold in 1/3, 1/3, and then again in half, having the open side facing downwards. Do the same on the other side. Make sure it's not twisted. Fold in 1/3, 1/3, and then again in half. Put left over right and pull the left side through. Tighten the knot against your chest, not on your obiita. Pull both ends straight and straighten out the top. Wrap the top around 4 fingers of your left hand. Tuck the other end of the obiage between index finger and middle finger. The right hand holds the tail on top in place, so you can pull the left hand through. Tighten both ends with even strength. But again, detailed video about obiage and obijime are linked down below or in the top right corner, and make sure to check them out and practice those two, because they're very basic and essential for mostly every obi musubi. Lastly, take off the ties and the clip, store them away, and straighten your kimono out. And then you're ready to go! Hopefully this video gave you some homework of how to tie a Nijudaiko on back and front, and you're now motivated to actually practice both. And I really hope that this video also showed you clearly how a Nijudaiko is constructed. If you're new here and you want to learn more from a professional kimono teacher, feel free to subscribe. I would be really happy to have you here. Thank you so much for watching, and I see all of you in my next kimono adventure. Bye!